Welcome to Reality After Show, exclusively on Paramount Plus. Just like the Challenge World Championship, which we're covering right now. This is episode 3, Us Against the World. I am your host, Alex Trias, as always joined by my ride or die, Dan Montchal. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, Alex. I think Jordan was talking about you and I, not him and Tori, that we're imprinted on each other forever, just like werewolves.
Yes, just like werewolves, we are imprinted on each other. We do not give each other butt massages. I can tell you that much.
That we do not do.
Despite what Johnny may claim, that's for him and Matt.
I'll say that's Matt's area expertise.
But yeah, this is episode 3. This is a just an elimination episode, which we were like, oh, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna go fully off the regular schedule of daily and an elimination? But they give us just an elimination, gives us some drama, gives us some relationships, and some threads of what's going to go on. This will not be one of our usual like hour-long podcasts. There's not a lot to go over, but we'll go beat by beat here. So we immediately start off with the aftermath of Kellyanne, like calling into question Johnny's friendship. Johnny's talking to Wes about it, and you see Wes is sort of like trying to pigeon foot this a little bit. He's like, yes, Kellyanne's a little erratic, but she's also like very loyal as long as you keep protecting her. So maybe Benha and Jody is the right call.
Yeah, this one's a little bit weird simply because you can kind of see that Wes is definitely kind of pushing her more towards Kellyanne. But if you're thinking about it from John A's point of view, yes, there's a lot of these people that she knows very well, she's done for seasons. But if you were going to say, who are the teams that can help her? She may have the closest relationship with someone like Kellyanne of anyone in the house. But from what we've seen as it goes on, it looks like she's in the same room as Jody. And the one thing that we've seen from Jody in the past is that she's an absolute beast who also isn't attached to anyone else. So if you do them a solid, that's a potential strong team that you would think will probably win one of these at some point.
Right.
Where from this point, Kellyanne and Tristan, what have they really showed us that has given us any type of confidence?
You haven't. They've done. Tristan did poorly in the MVP like showcase, and then both him and Kellyanne come in last in the first daily. There's Kellyanne's being erratic, calling teams out to their faces, not realizing what she's saying. So I get she's your friend outside the game, but like how useful is she for you in the game other than just being this wild emotional wild card? Which is like that's sort of Kellyanne's thread throughout this whole thing is like this should be easy. If I was in her shoes, I would save my friend because that's what I do. If you're not my friend, you don't save me. And that's sort of like she's spiraling and she's continuing to spiral about it. And you have Tristan who's just like, usually I'm the person like this. I was hoping my legend would be someone that would calm me down, but I'm the one who has to calm my like challenge veteran down and try to do the game for her.
Don't come in last in that first challenge, Tristan.
I feel bad for this man. Like he definitely comes across like why he never got into elimination, never won a daily though. It's like he's just he's average. Like if you made like a template like stock, it's like a stock photo. It's like this is the most average basic thing you can put on a screen. That's Tristan.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good comparison, and one isn't coming off the top of my head from someone that we've seen a lot on the main show.
I mean, Joss.
But Joss is at least like big, physically imposing, where you don't get that from Tristan. He's almost like I'm blanking on his last name, but he did some of those middle seasons like Ryan.
Oh,
I believe his last name starts with a K. I could be wrong, but it's just like he has a good social game. He's average at everything else, but it's nothing where it's just like, ooh, you got to watch out for him here.
Right. Like, to be honest, I don't see a longevity for them in this game. But who knows with this season? Anyone can do well. But so we have that. And here's this like weird thing where it's like the MVPs are very much playing this is a nationality versus nationality game. Like we need to do whatever. Like we hear Emily and Grant and Kiki being like, we need to keep the Aussies together. You see the UK people during this episode being like, the UK needs to stay united because it's in the name, united we stand. But the tension that we have throughout this is more so how the MVPs view the legends and how the legends view the MVPs. Because the MVPs are noticing like these legends, they've played many seasons together. There's going to be more. Their direction of the game isn't going to be the same as how we're viewing the game. And so can we even trust that our partners will align with what we want to do?
No, you can't.
No, you very much can't. But that's what we get starting off with Emily and Grant talk. Like, once again, showing why Grant's not a good player is his very lack of a social game. And because he's like, I just think John A should kick Kellyanne to the curb. You don't need to be friends with everyone. And like Johnny's not being friends with everyone, but you can also be friendly to everyone. Grant, they all can't be you who like go out to drink and you just sit in the corner by yourself and then get eliminated. Like,
no, it's shining a lot more light on Grant, and I can only imagine that, for those of you that watch the Australian Challenge, that he just worked with the people that he's like, all right, sweet. It's not that we actually get along. You're just in my room. And so I can only imagine that's as far as what he goes, is he never leaves his room. So that's who he talks to.
And I think that's just such a big problem. It's like, because you see it later in the episode after the elimination, like he immediately goes to the team that they threw in. It's like, oh, I'm surprised that you're still here. Like thinking that he's just joking with them. Like, read the room, buddy. Like, you have Kellyanne who's like ready on the verge of a freak out, and Tristan's just trying to keep things together, and you're going in there half telling the truth, half telling a lie. Like, oh, I didn't even think you'd still be here, man. Like, good on you.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, but I feel bad for John A because I know we both really like her, and it's just like she is strapped to an absolute anchor.
Yeah, and
at
that
some
anchor
point,
is
going
going
to pull
to
her down.
And that's going to pull down quickly. I think they're not. I think as soon as they don't win a daily, they're one of the names being thrown in.
Yeah, I don't think if they made it halfway through the season, I'd be surprised.
Because like if you're the veterans, like yes, you have a good relationship with John A, but she just won the last two All-Star seasons. She's shown now that she's a very good competitor. Why would you let her stick around longer than she needs to?
Yeah, you almost have to give her, like, going back to All-Stars 3, it's getting to the point that you almost have to give her like the Jordan treatment, that it's just like at some point like, hey, we don't want her in the final.
Yeah.
And she isn't doing so. She may have friends and known these people for years, but we haven't seen her do the main show in very long time, which is where a lot of these people, they're thinking about, 39, 40. And if she's not going to be there, well, they're going to save the people that can help them in the next upcoming seasons, not
and
some of the spinoffs.
We'll dig more into that in a few minutes because
yes, fucking Tori.
Hey, your words. I didn't say it. But during that Aussie part, I just wanted to touch on, for those who watched the Challenge Australia, Emily talks about how she went into Challenge Australia with a partner. She left with a partner, but it was a different person than who she started with. She's now in love with Ryan from that season. I know one of Johnny's personal favorites, Ryan.
That sweet mullet just drew her in.
It looks like he got rid of the mullet in some of those pictures, but he got her cowboy boots, and she said, "Hey, I haven't just ridden horses with them."
Well, she tries to deny it. Kiki calls her out pretty quickly.
I love, but here's like, I do like the Aussies' dynamic with each other, like because Kiki and Emily and Grant were not on the same page in their season, but they realized coming like we're like, or maybe they talked after the show and like now they're good. Like I like their dynamic. It's fun.
I think it's fun for that, maybe more so than some of the other teams like the UK or even like USA, where it's really much like we got to stick together. I like the fact that it's all right, we're going to stick together, but all of them are like for now,
Yeah.
not we're going to ride this out to the end.
Well, USA, I feel, is we're sticking it around to the end type of people.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean. Like Argentina, I would say is very much like their whole storyline right now is like, why do you guys keep putting us against each other? We just want to stay. Let Argentina breathe, and that's what we get with Benha and Benha and Jody. Where I just feel like Benha picked the wrong partner. Like Jody is not vibing with Benha, and I don't understand because I don't know if that she's just like being all like woe is me because she's attached to like the sinking country, but Benha's just like this very positive person. And like I feel like he brings like a bright light into every room that he goes into because he's like, I'm just gonna be me. I want to be a man of my word. I want to be honest. But like I still want to learn how to play the game. I just want to know how I can use like these emotions that I have and this ability that I have in the social aspect of enhancing my game and protecting my country.
Yeah, and what a hype man. I want someone telling me that I'm awesome 35 times a day. Like, come on, a little confidence boost right there. Like he's very supportive. Yeah, I agree. Jody wasn't the best pick for him because I think he needed someone with more agency in the game that was going to really be able to take control of it because that's where Benha would have slid in perfectly with that partner.
I would have even taken like if he was able, he would have been able to take Amber. Like Amber, I feel would have been like a good partner to have. Maybe he would be targeted a lot, but like he would at least have someone who I think would vibe with his energy more. Because I think that's what's going to be this pair's uh, downfall. Will be this fact that their personalities are just not meshing as much as Benha's trying to get it to work.
I think that would have been, they should be able to do a trade, do a swap. Because if
And
you
maybe
have
that will happen.
Amber and Benha, they go a lot better together, I think, as well as Troy and Jody would. Like, I think they're more similar. Now, Troy, we haven't seen much. And I mean, yes, we saw he won Australia. We see that there isn't too much personality, and maybe there isn't a ton of personality from Jody anymore. So those would probably be two better pairings.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you listen to my little spoiler thing of last week, you'll know why I think Troy isn't getting an edit either. And like suddenly Amber shows up out of nowhere in the end of this episode. But I'm not going to talk about it again because I don't want to give you guys, oh, this is a spoiler part. Yeah, so we have that. I'm going to touch upon very briefly the Kaz and Theo relationship. Like essentially both of them are just like trying to play nice with each other, hadn't spoken to each other in like multiple years, but both understands like it's better for us to be friends here than enemies. There's no point adding a big list of people to have against you. So it makes sense. We'll see how long this can actually happen. Like if they actually rekindle even a sense of a friendship with each other, or if there will be a breaking point that causes them to truly break off.
Yeah, from right now, we're only a few episodes in. I don't have a really good read on whether it's going to go one way or the other. I think they'll probably just stay friendly until a shot's fired, which you'd have to imagine is going to happen at some point just with who they're partnered up with. Because, Jordan having Kaz and Theo being with Sarah, like you can just see those teams not meshing whatsoever.
Yep. So now let's go into this storyline. And the storyline is of we're having a talk with Danny, Ben, and Tori. And Tori sort of like explaining to them how this is why all the veterans didn't speak at all during that first round because you don't want to make promises you can't keep. And that's where Tori goes into explaining like the issue with the challenge is a lot of us are playing multiple seasons with each other. We're going to be playing multiple future seasons with each other, and fucking one another over isn't good unless it's like absolutely necessary because you you hurt someone in this game now will implicate how they react to you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Tori lays it out. She doesn't necessarily have the rest of her vacation alliance there, but she can be annoying, but she is smart. Like, it's the right way to go about it, especially with, the challenge kind of pushing her to be one of the faces. Like, she needs to be in good grace with it. Pretty much everyone that she can, because most of these people that are coming back, especially people from the top teams, she knows she's going to see minimum 3-4 more times.
And that's an issue because
huge issue.
Like, it's the correct play. It's the smart play. That's why she wins Ride or Dies, is because this is how her play style has been. But this is why you can't just keep consistently calling the same, like 80% of the same cast over and over again. You need to filter it out so that they don't have these unbreakable bonds that just screws over the rest of the field. And Danny's calling it out. So it looks like this is because, especially based off the preview in episode 1 of what to look for in the season, I think there's a lot of tension between Danny and Tori about how you maneuver in the game. Because Danny picked her, one, because of Kiki, his wife Kiki, if you didn't know, that's his wife's name, and told him that whenever he gets a call from the challenge, he has to go. It's not his choice, it's her choice. But she advised him, if you couldn't get John A, get Tori. But Danny doesn't play this game of worrying about pleasing everybody so that you don't get harmed in the future, because he's just focusing on here and now. Like, to him, this could be his last challenge. He doesn't care. He's just here to win, but he's worried that he trusts Tori, but doesn't trust her to put what he believes is best for the game first over her relationships with the other vets, which we then see in a scene later where Tori, like, they make a purpose of showing Tori giving Jordan a massage with her butt. And we hear from Jordan, like, they are better than they have ever been. They're hoping that this go around has less turmoil than it did on Ride or Dies. And you just see Danny, like, sort of side-eyeing it all. It's just like, these relationships are more important than what, like, country you're representing. But having too many friends in this cast can give you more trouble in the future. So he would rather have fewer for his game, because he thinks having fewer friendships where he would have to make deals with allows his game to be more flexible.
I completely agree. And I like this because it's almost, obviously they didn't meet before, but it almost has a similar type of feel to Arrivals, in the simple fact that it's both people that you're pairing together have different friends, and obviously they're not all going to end up being paired up with one another. And so that's what I'm really interested in seeing moving forward is, are these MVPs going to let the vets dominate and say, hey, this is what we're doing? Or are some of them going to really try to make moves, put their foot down and go, hey, we need to go this way, which I'm hoping for, because if we get some vets screwing over some other vets, maybe we can get some, spice it up, get some more action in some of these future seasons.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A brief little scene of Nelson and Jajoy. Nelson says when he wins the money, he's going to take his mom around the world, even though he originally said he was going to give her financial freedom by winning the season. But I guess that he actually meant tour around the world, and the last stop will be in Argentina to hang out with Jajoy. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be certainly something. Nelly
man.
T. I feel bad for him after all of his news that came out this week.
Yeah, and for challenge news, Nelson was recently in a very bad car accident. Check the social medias. There's pictures about it. There's a GoFundMe about it if you want to help support the medical situation for Nelson. We do wish him the best and hope that he heals up quick or quicker. This might also show for reason why, if we don't see him in upcoming season or two, now we know. Be careful when you're driving, folks.
Yeah, that was brutal.
But yeah, so now we have more conversations with Kellyanne talking with Ben after Ben does his challenge hack And if you guys really wanted to come to the challenge and figure out hacks of how to do well in the game, Ben has you covered. It's hide the silverware that you want to use so that it stays clean.
His hiding spot's terrible though. It's at like the closest cabinet, like near the sink. Like, isn't that where everyone would open up first?
No, everyone will just go to the dirty dish. Like, well, I guess I have to use it. That's the only thing that's out there. So you hide it in the obvious spot. You hide it in the cabinet right above the sink.
Well, I'm just hopeful that we're not going to see too many people that are exactly like Ben casted on the challenge in the future.
Hey, someone has to be the one that cleans.
Oh, I guess at least for once it isn't Jordan yelling at people that they don't clean up. So
right,
he gets a little bit of a break.
Yeah, and Kellyanne talks with Ben and says like she feels like people are playing a short-term game. Like this is a game that changes lives, but like you should want to keep people that are your friends, but I don't want to be feeling as if I'm hurting a friend's game by being here and being how I am. And then finishes the conversation, which Ben really enjoys of like, well, I want to prove that I'm better, but if I get thrown in, that gives me free reign to be a psychopath. And she sticks to it.
She does stick to it. Kellyanne's she's interesting because, you know, it isn't like she's been a challenge staple. So as much as some people may have been down on her coming in, I was all right with her coming in. Maybe not the first choice, but she's someone that, yes, we've seen on All Stars, but outside of that, she only pops her head up every once in a while. And she's a wild card to it. So you can see why she was cast, but it's just, you can also see very clearly why she's never won one of these games.
Yes. Now, here, the next segment here is we're going to be sort of like going back and forth between Benha's social game with John A versus Kellyanne. So we'll start with the Kellyanne of it all. Kellyanne and John A have a discussion. John A apologizes and says to Kellyanne that, you are my friend. I want to put past games aside. I want to keep you here. I think you could be a good ally for me. And both of them are getting on the same page. Kellyanne appreciates it. So she's like, cool. She just gave me her word. I'm safe. Tristan's safe. It's going to be Jody and Benha. Cue to Benha. Benha's having a conversation with Bananas at the water. And like he's trying to like, I want to learn from these powerful players from the challenge history to figure out how I can improve what I'm doing. And like Bananas really just keys in on Benha. It's just like, you just need to be ready to adapt. But also more importantly, it's like, you have to be, when the time is right, you need to be able to show that you have the fight and the grit to stay alive in this game. So you have to have a knife, even though you love everyone, you have to have a knife around. Use it when needed, because it will be needed eventually. Which then leads to him having a conversation with Jody where he's like, I truly believe we can be safe. Like, let me do some work. And he has a conversation with John A. And he's trying to like give a pitch for why maybe it shouldn't be him. Only problem is, while she's having that conversation with him, Kellyanne's in the bed in the same exact room. Just sort of like eyeballing it. But you know what? Kellyanne's fine because she says, I feel like there's only a 0.1% chance that John A's lying to me. And if she's lying to me, she's a sociopath.
I mean, 99.9%, you got to like those odds.
Yeah, but Dan, knowing you would go against it.
Well, sometimes you fade the public. There's never a bet that's that big. I mean, you know, if Alabama's playing some FCS school, I'm not just like, this is their week.
But, you know, John A is listening to Benham. And then, so we have all that back and forth. And then you have her talking with Nelson. And Nelson's just trying, like, you know, amongst vets, if you could just do me this one solid, let me see what the elimination looks like. If I put my hair up, that means I want to go against Tristan. I think that will help me keep Jajoy around, or me and Jajoy in, based off the competition. If I keep my hair down, you send Benha and Jody. And John A's sort of taking it and like sits back and she's like, you know what? If I do this, this can be an out for me. This could potentially be an out for me that sort of allows cooler heads to prevail potentially.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever seen in any show Nelson and John A.
No.
Maybe they're closer. Something happened outside the show that they've spent some time together, but I can't remember ever seeing them together. But I like it doesn't end up working out, but I like the play by Nelson because he's at least wording it as, "Hey, I'll tell you who I think like I feel confident that we're going to beat," fully knowing that that entire time he wants Kellyanne and Tristan, but he's not going to come outright and say that.
Yeah.
So
And
surprisingly good move from Nelly T.
oh yeah, it was a level-headed move, makes sense on paper, and he's like, "Hey, that's all I can ask for. If she doesn't do it, she doesn't do it." And we hear from Grant with the one right read of like, "I'm just gonna let John A make the decision." She's a smart player. She's always a step or two ahead of the field. And whatever decision she makes, I know is helping us as the AU people. So I'm good. Counter that to like you watch all these conversations happen. You have Sarah and Danny talking about how like it looked like John A was consoling Kellyanne, like making it look like she wasn't gonna put her down, even though Kellyanne just had that massive call out against the bigger teams. And so Sarah's
Team
like,
USA in particular.
yeah, and Sarah's just like, I don't understand that. Obviously, these legends are playing a different game than what the MVPs are, so I can't trust them. And this is such an interesting dynamic because we don't know how the format changes throughout the season. All we know for now is you are partnered with an MVP. They are putting you in a jersey that represents your country, but there's nothing about the format that's like, if your country wins, the rest of the country is safe with you. So there's
Mhm.
nothing there except for you want to be allied with the people because you know them. But
Quick
we're seeing
comment,
this
real quick.
friction from specifically from the USA side of things. The USA MVPs looking sideways at the legends of USA and just across the board of like they want to play their own game, but you know we earned our spots here. Is sort of how I'm interpreting it. We should be able to have be able to dictate some of this game.
Yeah, that absolutely. I just going back to one thing you said about them in the jerseys. There's two things that I do want to give the Challenge World Championships for. Was A, we saw it at the very beginning of the episode. Now that this is the first episode going into it, we know who the teams are. We actually have an intro again,
I
which is a
love
little bit
it.
old school. And we have, yes, there's not as many, but we have different color jerseys that aren't just not everyone's in black. So do
I
want to
like
call
it.
them out for that.
I do like it. It's a good positive for the show. And I'll be honest, even though this is like like a little bit of a slower episode in just an elimination, hot take from me, I really enjoyed this episode.
I completely agree. I know there's a lot of people out there that were down on it, but the people that are down on it are the same people that will go to Twitter, they'll go
Yep.
to Reddit, and they'll complain, "Oh, there's no drama anymore." Was it, the best drama episode? No, but we're getting some drama. It's setting some seeds for where there is going to be drama and tension in the future. And I have high hopes that once the season gets rolling, a few more episodes in, I think it's set up that it could be a great season.
Yeah, but you know what? We were talking like about all this like hair grooming up top this episode. But if you want proper hair grooming for downstairs, please listen to this ad.
Support for Reality After Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it. 4000K LED. No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive Reality After Show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, Patron.com.
And we're back. And not only are we back, Dan, we are in the arena.
Ooh.
Yeah, we are in the arena. Nelson and Jajoy come in. Nelson's getting a good check of what he's seeing, and you know what? He makes not the smart choice and decides to put his hair up.
I'm just glad that Fessy isn't here, because this would just be another dumb carnival game that other people are good at, but he's not.
Yeah. You know what? Fessy probably would have done well in this.
Well,
I don't think he would have been like Nelson in this challenge.
Nelson, not that you ever needed to take the class, but he clearly is not familiar with physics.
It makes you think about how good is his motion going, you know? But anyway, he puts his hair up, and suddenly you're, as a viewer, even though the way it's edited the entire episode, you're like, oh, Kellyanne is going down. But you're just like, oh man, it's about to happen. And Grant makes the call. It says Kellyanne and Tristan, you're going down. And Kellyanne's just shocked. She can't believe it. Like, you why did you promise me? Why did you tell me all this? And then you get a flashback. And you get the flashback of some of the other vets like coming to John A and being like she called out all the strong teams. Like, you're one of the strong teams. Like, how I know she's your friend, but like she's actively tanking your game. And then you see it again like later on, and we see people just like sort of whispering like Kellyanne's just going around talking about it, and John A was like trying to tell her in confidence. So she's sort of like breaking those bonds. And man, it's a shock for her.
Yeah, I don't want to say I like, but I guess I can understand what all the vets were doing, because for them, they see it. All right, Kellyanne's already there. We already voted her in. They may not say Jody and Benha's name again, but for them, they've already said Kellyanne and Tristan. And I think they just simply want the option there that as long as they're here, if they don't come in last, that's always going to be the consensus House vote. One of them anyway.
Yeah, I believe so. If you're asking who people are going to be rooting for, don't look, because Zara and Wes Wes is taking Zara to school here, and he says, well, who are we going to be rooting for? Zara goes, well, obviously Tristan, right? No, both teams. You root for both teams because we're working both sides.
And I can only imagine during all of this, the people from the Challenge USA are just shocked. Like, what? People talk during eliminations? What is this?
Absolutely. Which gets us to the elimination tetherball, which I did write down the percentages.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. So for tether brawl, there is 30% chance, or 30% strength, 30% teamwork and communication, 30% concentration, and 10% technique. I think after we watched how it happened, I think technique should have been a higher percentage. Don't you think?
Technique ended up being a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So for tether brawl, one teammate will be harnessed on a sling while the other teammate will try to swing them as high as they can to grab building blocks. Once you get 8 blocks and toss in your section, your partner that was swinging you will build a tower 8 blocks high. But if you drop a block that goes into the center, you can brawl for it and get that block for yourself. Yeah, I was not feeling confident for Nelson as soon as they explained this challenge. And as soon as they started the challenge, like, oh, this isn't a contest. This is like, we're March Madness right now, folks. This is like the 1 seed versus a 16 seed type of game.
This was a slaughter.
Well, first off, he says Joy is heavy. I'm like, she looks like one of the smallest girls there.
Joy is not heavy. Is she heavier than Kellyanne? Sure. But compared to someone else, that are just like bigger, more muscular, like you'd think someone like Sarah or Tori or Jody,
or
Naya, Emily, like Joy's got to be way easier to swing back and forth than at least half the girls on the cast.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go with this. Nelson and Joy only get a block because Kellyanne drops one and Nelson just like beams for it and out wrestles Tristan for it because he gets there first. But Tristan and Kellyanne have the rhythm, they have the motion. Kellyanne's like, this like goes into what she's better at because like she's a yogi. She's used to like, she's able to stay still and allow momentum to like guide her. Whereas Joy was flailing like a fish out of water. You have Nelson who's just like constantly stopping the momentum, and all the veterans are like, what are you doing? Like, just guide her. Like, don't stop and then throw her again. You're not gonna get anywhere. And it's just a slaughter. It's like very cut and dry. Kellyanne and Tristan win it.
Everyone watching had the same exact facial expression that Bananas did that entire time, just being like, WTF. Like, Nelson, at that point, I don't know if he just didn't understand it, if he couldn't comprehend it. It wasn't working, but it was just how many times they had to yell at him of not stopping momentum. And immediately, that's the first thing he does every single time.
But it also looked like he kept trying to run onto the platform. And then because he would run onto the platform, he would stop as well because you shouldn't be doing that. It was just weird. And like, there's a joke that could be said here, but due to recent events, I will not say it. Because it's very similar to a type of event that you shouldn't look at, but you can't help but watch. You can put the pieces together.
No comment?
You can put the building blocks together.
Yeah, it became evident pretty quickly because even when I think, they give Jordan the confessional being like, I thought it was going to be a slaughter, but Kellyanne drops one and it's on. And it's just like, no, that's going to be the only piece they get this entire time. That's the
only piece that they get. Nelson and Joy are out. And like, to me, like, we were questioning why Nelson was on this season as a legend. And I'm like, well, they clearly only called him a legend in Ride or Dies so that they have an excuse to throw him in here because like, what has he done? But I always enjoy Nelson on the show. It's but he was the right, either team going would have been fine with me. Like, yeah, but if they go, it's one of the 2 bottom teams to begin with anyway, so no harm done.
No, and I did see that it's because Nelson, how he started his challenge career was a very impressive elimination win streak. Like, I think he got to like 9-1-1 at some point.
It was something along those lines.
Yeah. And now he's lost 5 in a row.
And some of them are his own fault, but like some of them are like, you didn't expect it. Like, you thought maybe there was a chance, or like he got blindsided, thrown into the elimination against a heavy hitter, and you're just like, well, them's the breaks. But maybe he was able to break his daily curse. Maybe he'll be able to break his elimination curse in the future.
Apparently, the record for the most consecutive losses is 6. It's tied with 2 people. One, I think we're going to be seeing on All Stars 4 coming up is Jazzy. And then the other is one of my personal favorites for how much of a train wreck he's always been, the great Danny Jameson. And I will add Tyreek can tie it on All Stars 4 because he's
Ooh.
at 5.
I think he will, knowing his record.
Yeah.
But okay, so we get this rare thing of like now we have that like TJ calls Kellyanne a badass. He tells Tristan like, "Hey, we shouldn't see you down here again." And to be noted, this is Tristan's first ever elimination because on his challenge win in Challenge UK, he never went into elimination, never won a daily, but he did win that final. So now he has another experience under his belt.
Good for you, Tristan. I'd imagine they're going to keep getting called out and thrown in, but they're also a team that you could see that if they're able to survive maybe 2 more eliminations, that once some of the other drama starts, they definitely can't win. I don't even think they're going to get close to the final, but I could see them skating around a lot longer than what you would think, simply just because once some of the other heavy hitters start going after one another, the thought's going to be, oh, we can get Kellyanne and Tristan out whenever.
Right. And it will be interesting to see how they use these USA MVPs moving forward, since I doubt that we're getting season 2s of, well, we know we're not getting season 2 of Challenge Australia. I doubt we're going to get season 2s of UK if they only did 5 episodes and dropped them just like haphazardly. Argentina, who knows? But like, if some of these people really show out in this like exclusively on Paramount Plus show, does that give them enough to go on to like the Challenge USA seasons moving forward, or the main show even? It will be something to see.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Maybe not all of them, but some of them, because it's something that I've said it many times. One of the biggest issues with their pool now is, back in the day, if you watched the challenge, you watched Real World, you watched Road Rules. And even when you're pulling from shows like Big Brother, Survivor, that are staples other places, there isn't always a crossover because it's not on MTV. And so when these rookies come in, you just don't care about them, because if you watched Road Rules or Real World, you saw, 10, 11, 12 episodes and really got to know these people over a few months. So you had some buy-in, you were invested. And when you're bringing on people that you don't know, you just don't care about the rookies as much unless they do something that makes an impact. So anything that they can do, like these other spin-off challenge shows that build that pool, I think it's ultimately going to be good for the main show overall.
Right. And like, I think they're doing a good job so far in these first 2 episodes. Of the first episode was a majority like confessionals, majority storyline was just the MVPs. We're getting, I think, a good balance in these 2 episodes of hearing from the veterans and hearing from the MVP players. So we'll see how they continue to do that moving forward as the storylines start to really become more solid. But we leave this episode with, we're back from the elimination, back from the arena. Tristan's like, I want to, swallow. I'll take this on the chin. I'm still willing to do something with John A. and Grant, but I'm putting a pin on it. It's gonna come out later on, and I will use that anger later. But
Kellyanne is not.
No, well, first Grant is the first step of, like we said, coming to be like, oh man, I thought you were gonna go home, and Tristan's like, dude, ain't the time or the place. Stop this. Then we hear John A. talking with Bananas and with Wes and Jody, and like she's sort of venting to Jody about how like we had 2 options, like the whole house voted them in, but she's focusing her anger on me. And then Kellyanne walks into the room and starts like talking passive aggressively to John A, and Johnny's like not taking it. And so like Kellyanne confronts John A confronts her right back, and she's like, well, people told me you were going around talking about this to them, and that impacts my game. You did all these other things. There's this huge list of reasons why I had to throw you in. And Ken's like, stop lying to me. And it's going off again, going crazy. And I don't think their time in this game is long, because Kellyanne is a player that constantly gets in her own way. And while I love it from a television aspect, like I would hate it if I was a player. And So I expect them, if they don't win, they're constantly going to be a name that's thrown as an option to be put into elimination.
Yeah, they're always going to be that easy name just because not only the perceived, they are one of the weakest teams there. Their name's already been thrown out there. And outside of John A., who is the only one that said, hey, I had a relationship with Kellyanne, none of the other vets really do. I mean, you see a little bit of it as her and Wes have their history, but there's nothing strong. There's not a strong team there that's going to advocate for them. So we'll see how long they stick around. I don't think it'll be that long.
We'll see. But that does wrap up this week's episode of the Challenge World Championships. We'll be back next week, either on Thursday or Friday. We'll see based off just scheduling. But yeah, if you want to support the podcast, give us 5 stars wherever you're listening to it. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That's how more people will be aware of what we do as a team here at Reality After Show. If you want to really support us, become a patron at realitypatron.com, where you will be able to join the secret Facebook page. Also get more exclusive content as Johnny and Matt do episode by episode recaps of previous seasons of Australian Survivor. They're on a little break right now, but when Johnny's back from Bolivia in May, he will be starting that back up again with Matt. They also do a weekly Q&A, which is their favorite podcast of the week. It's my favorite podcast of the week, where they really just shoot the shit. Anything goes, anything can be asked, and they will answer it all. On the main feed, as always, every Wednesday, you'll find some combination of myself, Dan, Wayne, Johnny, Matt, doing the recap of Survivor US, followed by on Thursday, where we will be podcasting with myself, Dan, Wayne, and Chrissy from Australian Survivor, talking about Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. And as always, we'll be back next week talking about the Challenge World Championships. Dan, take us home.
All right, yeah, that's going to be it for us. It's been fun. I still have a ton of confidence that this season is going to turn around, and we will see you next week.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.